Alright, so today's lesson is in Glenco chapter 7. We will be creating and solving multiplication equations. We're going to start on page 552 with example 2 because there are places for us to fill in boxes in our textbook. Bless you. Alright, example 2 asks us to solve 3x equals 6. Now, the good news about this lesson is, with all of our work on area and finding those unknown sides, we've already been practicing this. So I think you'll find this fairly easy today. When we look at a multiplication equation, we have to think, how can I get the variable by itself? So I have to think about what's the opposite of multiplication. Seth?
Division.
Thank you. So in order to get x by itself, we will divide. So we'll divide this side by 3. And what we do to one side of the equation, we must? Alright, so our 3's will cancel, leaving x by itself. 6 divided by 3 will give us a 2. Now the check on this is the same as when we've been checking our other equations. We take our answer, we plug it back into the equation and see if it's right. So for the check, we'll need to say 3 times 2 and see if that equals 6. We can do that in our head. We know that 3 times 2 is 6. Our answer checks, so we can go ahead and circle our answer, and we're done. Please try A on your own. 3x equals 15. Okay, you've probably worked through all 3 of these by now. On all of these, we will be dividing to undo the multiplication. So here we'll divide by 3, same to the other side, cancels them out. X will equal 5. My check, 3 times 5 needs to equal 15, and it does. Okay, here's x. It's a multiplication equation. I will divide to undo. And what I do to one side, I will do to the other. We'll cancel them out. 8 divided by 4 is 2. For my check, 8 needs to equal 4 times 2. 4 times 2 is 8. It checks. We're good. And here, we'll need to get the x by itself, so we will divide by 2 on both sides. X will equal 7. Let's check. 2 times 7 needs to equal 14, and it does. So on these problems, even if you have a decimal or a fraction, you still do the same thing. So, if we had, I'm going to work on from page 557 number 25. 2 and 55 hundredths times D. I'm sorry. 2 and 55 hundredths times D equals 17 and 85 hundredths. So don't let the decimals throw you off. Here we still have a multiplication equation. We need D by itself. So I will divide by 2 and 55 hundredths. And what I do to one side, I will do to the other. We'll cancel it out. D is left alone. So then in my calculator, I will type 17 and 85 hundredths divided by 2 and 55 hundredths, and I will get a 7. I will check it. 2 and 55 hundredths times 7 needs to equal 17 and 85 hundredths, and it checks. Okay, also if we had a fraction, we'll need to be prepared for those. So let's do number 29, which is 1 and 2/5 x equals 7. Now, because these are fractions, we might have a little bit more work. We have to remember how to multiply and divide fractions and our rules for that. I might have some of you that would prefer to change some of your fractions to decimals before you do the work. I can show you that as well in a minute. Okay, so on this one, we know we're going to have to divide by 1 and 2/5 on both sides. I think we can change this to an improper fraction because we're going to have to anyways when we work our problem. So over here, I'm going to change it. So 1 times 5 is 5 plus 2 is 7. So that'll be 7/5. Alright, so we'll be dividing by 1 and 2/5. Divide by 1 and 2/5. But we've changed it, so it'll be, that'll cancel out, so it'll be x equals, now I'm going to write it to the side because that looks weird to have a fraction in a fraction. So 7 divided by, instead of writing 1 and 2/5, I'm going to write my improper fraction of 7/5. Okay, so when I am multiplying and dividing fractions, if I have a whole number, remember you can just put it over 1. It does not change the value. And the rule with dividing fractions is Kentucky Chicken Fried, remember? Keep, change, and flip. I'm going to write this underneath. X equals, keep the first, 7 over 1, change the sign, flip the second. Alright, so before I multiply across the top and across the bottom, I like to reduce. Crisscross reduce. 7 and 7, both divisible by 7, so those will both be 1s. Now, multiply across the top. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 1 is 1. And 5 over 1 equals 5. Okay, now, for those of you who might want to change this to a decimal, I'm going to do it to the side. So I'm going to turn my paper. I'm going to write 29 as a decimal.
Do we have to do it?
No, if you got the other way, that's fine. So if I had 1 2/5 x equals 7, same problem. If I want to change this fraction to a decimal, all I do is divide. I divide 2 divided by 5, which gives me 4/10. So that would be 1 4/10 x equals 7. So then I would divide by 1 4/10 on both sides. I'm out of room, sorry. Cancels out. So x will equal 7 divided by 1 4/10, which equals 5 the same way. The only problem you might have with that is if when you divide, you end up getting a repeating decimal or something like that. It might not look quite the same. So then go back and try it in fraction form. Okay, today you'll also have word problems. So back to page 553. Word problem D says, in 2004, Penn, Haddow, and Simon Murray walked 680 miles to the South Pole. The trip took 58 days. Suppose they traveled the same distance each day. Write and solve a multiplication equation to find out how many miles they traveled each day. All right, so let's write down what we know. What do we know? Usually when you're dealing with equations, it helps if you can find a total somewhere, because you know that total will probably be on the other side of the equal sign all by itself, and that'll help set it up. Paige, what do we know?
We know that they walked 680 miles.
Is that their total? Okay, Seth, what else do we know?
The trip took 58 days.
Okay. And it says, suppose they travel the same distance each day. So, same distance each day. And we know it's going to have to be a multiplication equation because it told us we need to multiply. All right, so if we know the total is 680, we can put it by itself, right? And in a way, with how I wrote this, it kind of set up what you need to do for the other part of the equation, really, because parentheses means do what? I didn't intend that when I wrote it, but it works out. So if we have 58 days and an unknown amount each day, all we have to do is, well, yeah, eventually we will, but see, y'all are skipping the step of writing the equation. So M for miles, unknown miles each day, 58 days, and the same distance each day will give us a total of 680. So then it wants us to solve the equation. So now it's back to the same things we've been practicing. So we'll divide by 58 because that will undo that multiplication. M will equal 680 divided by 58. It's 11.72, and it goes on. So about 12 miles each day. And it did say in the equation about how many miles they traveled. It wasn't going to be exact. I didn't notice, but on page 554, there were a couple more problems that involved decimals. Let's just do one more of those. You do it on your own just to check. So that's page 554. I want you to please try E.
Wait.
Okay, it's a multiplication equation, so how do we undo the multiplication?
Divide.
Dividing. So divide by 2 and 2500ths to get n by itself. We'll do the same to the other side. We'll cancel those out. N is all alone, which is what we needed. And in our calculator, we'll type 6.75 divided by 2.25, and we get 3. Okay, we can check by saying 2.25 times 3. That should equal 6.75, and it checks. Any questions?